Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Need to do one of
Does she have
those.
I'm right here. I'm just passing that.
Oh.
All right.
I need to do one of those audit things too. Very good on. I thought the,
Water department?
yeah, the water department audit.
I need to
thought I
sign it.
did one, but I.
From Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order.
So I don't know. I'll see what I can
I'll
do.
tell you.
She contacted me when I was in Ireland. I'm like, sorry, but there's no way unless you can get me to do a document.
All right, it's 5:30. I'm gonna call the meeting to order.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All counselors are present. Does one of you want to do a motion for me?
I make a motion that we go into executive order MRSA 4056D, labor negotiations.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? I don't think we need anything. We don't need anything. You're just gonna, okay.
I know. Wait. Hang on, wait. Just hang out. Wait. Hey, go ahead. There you go. There you go. Yeah. They want to make sure that. No. Okay. Oh, have you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
40 miles from here. Wow. If they're on the highway.
How are you?
Oh, you're on.
Yeah. Yep.
You a builder?
Cool.
Tiny homes in Maine out there. It is really nice work. Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of room for additional players in this market, especially here.
She wanted it. She might
Correct, yeah. Just give me a window. Oh, you did. The accessories. Okay. Right, they can probably do 200. Take any residential lot in the state. Be something like that you want. Imagine it's a town, they don't let it use that. They can't find it in a town.
The green.
Maybe I'm building a lot, I'm building a lot. Do a two-family, you do a tiny home, you build another small house with.
I think that.
This might be from like 2 unit zones to 4 unit zones. Like that. The purpose is to go down. Okay, so it'd be like a condo. The purpose is to create more housing.
Yeah.
Oh, country what? Oh, statewide. They won't even do that. We just passed this. It was right. That was some common sense there. Mexico.
Last night. Yeah. And I thought it was kind of bad. I know, I was like, 2 days. I think that was from a few years ago. Yeah, we were. You're all like, here's the. Oh, you know, 3 years. I don't think I just saw them. But the other problem is I took it in the day. We do. Share it. I think we're gonna have another.
Like, is it all the revenue?
Yeah. Just that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't shoot it. Really, really. Figure that out.
Yeah. It's.
Solar development.
They're, you know, not going out on our.
Saturday.
Yeah. What are they gonna do with it?
And Sunday. Wow. Yeah. Like,
Or I mean, go on there. Meanwhile.
yeah, those mile drivers are pretty loud.
Probably this is here. People couldn't laugh.
That's, oh, I would have played that. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't been crossing.
We hope it will. And make sure.
Yeah.
Getting better, but it's probably not. And he didn't know the nose. There's like double feet and whatever. Okay.
Yeah, she basically is.
See, that was supposedly not really get started. But just enough to get them. Because I know. Okay. Yeah, and there's, I mean, there's gonna be more and more. But it's worth it. 5 minutes. I remember that. But it should be. Yeah, I know it's been there 3 or 4 years. I've had it. It looks good. And if you're just going to the library, you know, charge to get it. You usually don't spend half a day in the library. Maybe when we were in school.
So they put some people who applied, no, they were on thing.
Well, I mean, that's a little better. Right. Oh, really? That's fine. That's fine.
So she needs.
Well, I know, that's right.
We could go.
No.
Right, parents are working.
I know, I understand that. I didn't want you to take that.
No, no.
Yeah, we don't.
I know. I don't. I mean, I think really like.
Unprecedented.
I know. Yeah, and I think I think that's another, you know, where. And I prepared for 20 minutes.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, and then we're logging or.
Nothing to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, you know, I'm not getting oh, but it was in the second time car. So we never would have done that. And we woke up. Well, the goal is to be that way. But it is.
That's in the plans for that.
So how about you? So you open camp up there?
No, I did that for a couple weeks, so.
I make a motion that we come out of executive session.
All those in favor? Okay, so from now until 6 p.m., we will have meet the candidates. So who do we have here? Candidates for, okay, if you want to just come up to the microphone, just make sure that it's on, introduce yourself, and if we have any questions. You want to start?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Andrea Wynn. I'm running for school board. And just a little bit about myself. I moved here 4 years ago. I live over, if anybody knows where Sawyer Bridge is on Jordan Road. I have the property that was the sleeper greenhouses. Everybody in town knows that. These people stop by and say, oh, I used to get my plants here. Yep. So that's where I live. And I love my patch. My patch of almost 8 acres. I've got riverfront where I can put my kayaks in, and I'm never ever leaving. So I'm here to stay. So I need to get involved with what's going on. And what I'm trying to do is learn everything. I've been on the budget committee, and now I want to be on the school board. So I know how things work around here. So anybody has any questions? Hit me.
Where are you from?
Standish. That's where I lived last. I had a farm there, but I am kind of broken and disabled of my back. So I had to give it up. And now I have just a little patch that I can have a personal garden, and yeah, it's mostly woods. So I'm from Maine, but I mean, I'm not from this town, but I'm not from away.
I have a question.
Sure.
What would be your objective as to be on the school board? What would you be looking for?
Well, the reason I picked school board first is because parents today are crazy busy, and things have not settled down from the COVID and all that. So everything's just all jumbled up. So I figured I can be like the parents' representation so that they have a voice, something, because I think that's kind of what the school board is. The school board and the parents need to work together. So the schools run the way the parents want, the way the school board wants, and it's, smooth sailing. Did that answer your question? Okay. Anybody else? Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Smith. I live at 13 Perkins Road. I've lived in town for 15 years. I have 2 daughters that go to RSU 16. One is at Whittier and one is at PRHS, but they both went to Elm Street for the full time. I was on the school board previously about 10 years ago. And then I was involved with the parent teacher organization at Elm Street School for many years while my daughters went there. I was a parent representative on the PBIS committee at Elm Street School, which is like the behavioral intervention system that we have at all of our schools. I am currently on the school board in a 1-year term, so I'm seeking to be there for another 3 years. And then regarding the community, I'm on the community day committee also. Any questions?
So is there 3 open positions for 3 years? Is that what we're?
I'm not sure. I believe
There's,
so.
okay.
It should be a total of 5 positions for.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm Mary Martin. I'm also running for school board, and I think I've lost count of how long I've lived in Mechanic Falls. I live on Jordan Road, so welcome. We're neighbors almost. So I went to Elm Street School. My kids went to Elm Street School. I taught at Elm Street School, and Shannon. I was principal at Elm Street School, and I retired from there to take care of my grandkids about 10 years ago, and was elected to the school board. I've been on the school board since then. I've been chair for the last number of years, and it's something I enjoy. It's, if I were to kind of talk about Lou's question in terms of, what do I always hope to accomplish? And it's trying to find the balance between doing what's best for the kids in RSU 16 and also meeting the capacity of our communities to do that. Knowing that, we don't have access maybe to as many resources as some communities do, but we have strong people resources in our 3 communities. And so, that's always seeking that balance, which is not an easy one sometimes to find. So it's, I consider it service to our communities, but I also consider it a great joy and something I take great pleasure in. So if
And
anybody
it's
have
been
any-
10 years already.
It has. Yes, it has. Anybody have any questions? Jess and I are committed to coming to as many of our meetings because I really do feel like, and I know Jess agrees with me that, strong schools and strong communities go together. So
I have a question for
Yep.
you. Where do you stand on this current request from the RSU on not having the vote or voting to get rid of the vote?
And where I stand is just making sure that our communities are well informed about it. I mean, it is a question that came up and has to come up every 3 years. And I know from the past when people have said to me, I didn't know what that question meant when I got to it. So where I stand is just making sure that our communities understand the difference between those two. There are some advantages to both of them. I know as a long-term citizen of Mechanic Falls, I was saddened when we lost our town meeting, but I also understood why we did that. So where I stand is whichever one our communities feel like it gives them the most say and that it gives them the most participation in terms of making those important decisions around budget. So whichever one, I want people to understand the difference between those 2 alternatives.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the service you've done for us in this community.
Yes. With the meeting minutes, we'll have to take them separate because Daryl wasn't here for the April 19th one. You can't vote on it.
You can't vote to accept them.
No, because he wasn't a part of them.
Okay, we can go. Time frame is fine. The time frame is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because you didn't.
Yeah, do the minutes
Okay.
and then the reports.
Okay.
Go into the hearing.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for the April 4th meeting and then the April 19th meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for April 4th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for the April 19th, 2022 as written.
Any discussion? Oh, sorry. Rose seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor? the department reports as submitted. I'll need a motion on that.
Make a motion, we accept the department reports as submitted.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so we'll be moving into the public hearings. 5.1 is the joint planning board council public hearing on the land use ordinances, and I'm going to turn this over to Alan, please.
And I'll call the planning board to order. In attendance is Lou Goulet, Walter Gosh, Shannon Snowman, and Shannon Sturgis. And this is, what's that? For the public hearing.
So I'm Alan Plummer and I'm just running. I would like to say that I am leaving, so if you don't know that, I've resigned and I am going to another town. Really, it has to do with time. I travel quite a distance right now to get here, and I did seek a closer place to work. So I'm going to be much closer, and I hopefully will be running, or maybe not running, but walking quickly for my health. So the 2 hours that I drive now a day will be dedicated to something else. But
Well,
I
thank
have,
you for your time here.
yeah, I've
Thank you very
met
much.
and worked with wonderful people. I appreciate the time working with you all on the planning board, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Thanks.
best of luck.
Alan, to give you white hair.
I was white before that. I taught school for 15 years. right? So do you want to listen to these all together and then you want me to go over them and then see if anyone wants to comment after like you did last time?
That seemed
Or
to
ask
work.
questions?
Yeah, we just make notes if you want to comment on it so we can just go through them.
So I'll give you a little synopsis. The town council has a signature sheet that they can look at and a little synopsis of what the ordinance change amendment is about. So the first two really have to do with mistakes that I made the last time we did this a month ago. And so the first one is clarifying retail marijuana facilities in our ordinance and where they're allowed and where they're prohibited. So that's the same as it was last month. I just left off the retail aspect of it when I gave you your notes. So that was a mistake. So now it just says marijuana retail facilities are prohibited in the rural, general, residential, and downtown business zoning districts and allowed in all other zones. So it just clarifies, it doesn't really change anything except for the rural. It does put the rural in like it did with the other marijuana operations. I just left off the retail operations. So there's that one. The second one is about when it talks about a landowner needing to provide at a campsite, like a primitive campsite on their property, if someone is using a different way of getting rid of their sewer waste, they need to do a letter within a certain amount of time. And I left off the part that said that the citation system of code enforcement will be used. So there's no change in that. It's just clarifying what happens if someone doesn't give that notice of what they're doing with their septic within 7 days. I use the code enforcement officer will use the citation system. So those are two things that I just left off last time. The next one is to do with solar and the solar ordinance that was passed a while ago. We discovered that my error, and actually lots of other people's errors, they didn't do the calculation on the annual inspection fee. So that was a mistake. I didn't do it. I should have done it. I figured someone else was going to do it. So they didn't. It removes the 50 cent per square foot for annual inspection of solar arrays, which are over 15,000 square feet. When you do that calculation out, it's a dramatic difference. It's a dramatic annual fee in the tens of thousands of dollars. So that's not appropriate. The fee still does have for medium scale 1,500 plus 500 per megawatts for their annual fee for inspections, and the large scale has 300 plus the 500 per megawatt for fire. What was that? 3,000.
3,000.
Oh yeah, 3,500 per megawatt. So that is in place. It just removes the 15-cent charge for over 15,000 square feet. And I believe we have some people in the audience that are going to address that in a minute when I'm done. The last one has to do with separating in our use table junkyard from recycler license. So this is a quite an addition and quite a change. But we had a gentleman in town that owns an auto shop, and he wanted to do recycling. And what that means is he can buy from the state a salvaged title, and he'll get a vehicle that's totaled by an insurance company, but it still has usable life in it, and he can repair that car and then put it for sale on his car lot. So it specifies that kind of stuff in the ordinance now, but it separates it. Before, we wouldn't even allow it. The wording in the ordinance said no recycling, no junkyards, none of that at all. And now this ordinance, this change separates recycler from junkyard. So it allows a recycler to take place with specific parameters in the ordinance. So they can only have 4 cars maximum. They have to keep a log of the cars that they're using, that they have a salvage title for. And the thing that I like about this is, and I've talked to the State Department that issues those recycler licenses, if they violate the ordinance, it's as simple as us saying, hey, you have 10 cars here and you're doing that, that's you're way out of line. We can simply say, no, you can't do that. We're calling the state and telling them we're removing your zoning ordinance. So the state will then remove their recycler license, period. So it's pretty easy to enforce. We'll just have to keep our eyes out for those cars, because those cars just come from, I don't know where they come from, but they just come. So those are the changes. Did I hit them all? Yeah. Those are the 4 changes. And now if anyone needs to comment or has questions about anything, feel free to ask.
Hey, everybody, nice to see you all again. My name is Jeff Sparrow. I permitted the solar project on Lewiston Street with the Green Lantern Solar. So I wanted to speak in favor of removing the 50-cent per square foot piece of the equation for the annual inspection fee. Just to give you an idea of scope, that the first 2 parts of the fee for our project would be about $5,000, and the per square foot cost would be upwards of $50,000 per year. So that's kind of a no-brainer to get rid of that. But furthermore, and this is something I've been trying to understand where the council has been at, and we generally oppose the annual inspection fee altogether, and have gone to our kind of legal counsel to get their interpretation of the rules, and just want to present those here now, if I could do that. So it's Article 7 of the solar ordinance should be removed in our legal counsel's opinion. Their findings are that the annual inspection is first in conflict with and contrary to state law, and secondly, bears no rational relationship to the land use activity it's seeking to regulate. On the first point, the state legislation enabling the installation of solar projects preempts a local ordinance of this type, because a local annual inspection and permit frustrates the purpose of the Maine Solar Energy Act, which is actually a statute and legislation. That act seeks to encourage development of solar across the state, and the town, in our view, is trying to generate excess revenue from the state legislation at the expense of project owners and ratepayers. On the second point, all land use regulations and municipal ordinances must be tied to a town's home rule authority under the Maine Constitution and statutes. That authority is not limitless. Especially with respect to land use and zoning, there must be a rational basis and connection to the activity it is seeking to regulate, which in this case is that annual inspection of the facility. Once constructed, a solar array is one of the most benign activities one could imagine on a commercial property. There is no active land use such as traffic, parking, noise, and sound. In our view, there's no rational or reasonable basis for an annual inspection by fire and safety or the code enforcement or annual permit renewal. Solar projects, we perform annual inspections already. A typical inspection consists of 2 technicians on site for a day. They are doing a visual inspection of the array, using thermal imaging cameras to identify any faults, opening junction boxes, service boxes, testing connections and voltage, and really doing a thorough inspection. This inspection includes a report that's provided to the project owner. The cost to generate this type of inspection is about $1,500. As compared to, for our project, the town is looking for the annual inspection fee would calculate to about $5,000 per year. So that's where we're having a hard time understanding what the fee is actually providing, and have a hard time understanding how if the town is actually going to put that much labor to work for the projects.
If I may,
Yes.
and don't take this wrong.
Yep.
But why should the town be okay with the fox watching the hen house?
That's so you would not, would it be okay if the code enforcement was to join during the inspection that's happening with the technicians? We would be open to something like that, saying, we're performing our annual inspection on this date, and offer for the town to join.
May I cut in here? Seeing I'm mostly the author of this. The reason, and first and foremost reason, that this was enacted was the fact that the scope of taxation within one of these solar projects wasn't known. And to this date is still unknown. And this was a way that our community, to recuperate some of its cost in losses, so that we could have a fairness of taxation amongst all the community. Why should Mechanic Falls subsidize solar array farms so that we can have the electricity? But yet we're being told by the state that we can't do that. Is the state going to come down? The state fire marshals, are they going to come down and do an inspection? Are they going to check the perimeter fencing and make sure that there's no cuts in it, so animals and deer or people can get in? Are those things going to be done on a yearly basis or a regular basis? I do know for a fact if somebody gets into one of those panels and happens to be a ground short that's going into those panels, they're pretty well toast if they touch it. Am I not accurate in those statements?
I would say those are mostly not accurate. An inspection of the fence for code enforcement might be a 2-hour activity to make sure nobody can get in there. So, if the town is going to do a prescriptive inspection, I think the cost should align with what that inspection is going to be. Regarding the taxes, surprised to hear you guys still haven't found out from
please do inform us.
O'Donnell. A project like ours is probably going to be assessed at, a couple $1 million. The town gets, as the state reimburses the town for 50% of the avoided tax on the solar project. So, what's your mill rate times $1 million? Probably more than most commercial properties in town, I would guess.
As I had said, nobody has given us those figures. O'Donnell came across and told us that at best, we could expect the 50%, recuperation from the state.
Mhm.
But nothing on you, Mary. But we're still waiting for that from the state for the schools. So it's a promise they don't keep. And how can we, in good faith, even begin to believe what they're going to say?
And then I'll go back to my question.
Yes.
You don't trust the fox to watch the hen house.
That's fine if code enforcement wants to go, I can't imagine any inspection that it's going to cost the town $5,000. Like they would have to be inspecting every single panel for 10 minutes. I mean, that's just an exorbitant amount. So whatever the town is actually going to do to inspect the array should be in line with what they're charging. And there's just no inspection that costs $5,000.
What do other towns do, Jeff?
They don't do much. This is a benign array. This is the first time I have seen anything like this. But I would think if a town was concerned, a walk around the site by code enforcement to make sure that nothing is obviously wrong would be totally sufficient to achieve the goal of making sure nothing's broken and that nobody can penetrate the fence. Anything beyond that, if something is broken at the site, the project owner is going to know about it. There's online monitoring for these systems. If a panel's broken, it's not making electricity, and that's, the utmost importance to us as the owner. The annual inspections we perform, they're not to pull the wool over a town's eyes. It is to make sure that system is doing everything it was designed to. So that is just something that is done on every project. And, that's not by statute that's done, but that could be something the town puts in the ordinance. That a solar inspection must be completed annually that does these things, and a report shall be provided to the code enforcement.
Jeff, just to clarify, this has nothing to do with saying someone is pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. It's
Okay,
just factual evidence that things have been done.
sure. Yeah, it was the fox in the hen house comment I was reporting to there.
Well, you have to understand where that one's going to be located. Unfortunately, there are children that tend to play out that way, especially during the summertime.
Yeah, it's a secure site, and unless they're breaking and entering and trespassing, they're not getting into that facility.
Signs are of the best intention.
Yeah.
I think is a comment I want to make there.
Gotcha. But yeah, so anyway, our point is that, this is, in our view, is not actually illegal per state law. And I realize this kind of throwing you guys on this now, you probably weren't expecting that.
And that was going to be my next question. If your council's told you that, why hasn't your council contacted our council or our CEO office or prior to tonight to inform him of this? Because this has been in play for 2 months, 3 months now, and you've known about it?
Yep, that's a great question. So Alan and I have had some back and forth. I had some outstanding questions which had not been answered. And on my last follow-up, found out about this meeting. So it seemed like a good opportunity to introduce the issue. So regarding our council, they will have a formal letter to the town by the end of the week. That you can provide to your town council and kind of see where it goes. But so I mostly want to introduce that I feel the entirety of the Article 7 is inappropriate. But specifically what you guys are looking at tonight is that 50 cents per square foot. And I don't see any reason to not move forward on that piece aside from this other part. So that's what I had to say.
So just for clarity for me, you're saying that you do an annual, each project does a solar annual inspection.
Correct.
And so you're saying we do that. You're saying our inspection fee is absorbent for what you would consider they would do for if we did one or our code enforcement officer did one.
Yep.
Okay, and you're also saying that your legal counsel is going to say that per statute, this is illegal?
Correct. They have, and they had short notice on this too. I didn't realize this was coming up so quickly, but they have case law that would support, a lawsuit if necessary.
Okay.
So they'll provide a letter that kind of identifies their findings and suggesting what the town can do, and the, town's welcome to put that in front of the council.
Okay, well, like she said, this is new information to
Yeah.
us.
And I
So-
appreciate that, and sorry if it feels like it's coming out of nowhere.
Well, it is what it is. So thank you for this information. Well, if they're going to send us the information, we can do more research as well.
Okay,
We can vote on what we've been dealt with tonight. I don't think any of us are in a position we need more time with this.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I appreciate your time and explanation. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Has our legal counsel looked at this out?
Yes, they have looked at it and revised it significantly. So they've looked at it and there didn't seem to be an issue. So I don't know where that goes back to, it will be between them.
Okay.
Yep.
What's that?
Yes, so if there's no further comments on this portion of the public hearing on these matters, then I think the council can move on to the next, close this public hearing, move on to the next. And later on tonight on your agenda is to vote on these particular changes.
Okay,
May I make a comment at this point in time?
sure.
Seeing the fact that legal counsel is, or a legal letter is going to be sent to the council, I think it would be best, in the best interest of this community, not to take any action whatsoever on any of, on that specific bill for the electric. The rest can be done, but I wouldn't do anything for that. Not until all the facts are on the table. It would just be the best, I think, the best way. Those are my comments.
Okay, so this isn't even on board yet, the solar project, or is it? It's not. So they're not accumulating any fees that are gonna start.
It's approved.
Right, but they're not accumulating any fees because it hasn't started up yet, so they don't need a report in a year. Not like it started, the time is not set yet.
They can't have a site visit. There's no site visit.
Right, okay. Okay. If there's no further comments or questions, we're going to close the public hearing for the joint planning board and the council at 6:23.
I think you don't have questions for the planning board there.
Okay, this is not, we don't need them for 5.2.
No, I think they're all set unless they have something further to add.
May I ask a question? Yeah. May I ask the question before they do? Do the rest of you feel the same way as Mr. Goulet does in regards to having the council table this issue?
I think it would be appropriate for that probably to happen. My experience, I was 34 years working in an industrial facility. We did get inspected by the city of Lewiston. But the inspections were for things that were related to domestic type stuff. Toilets, cafeteria, that sort of thing. They never inspected a process. Okay, but as far as the comment about the chickens in the box, I suspect that they're paying a lot for insurance. We did. And the insurance company would come in once a year and they would spend a couple of days going through the entire facility looking for safety violations or anything like that. So I suspect that that's probably going to happen with them, the insurance company.
But you would like us to.
I think it's appropriate till you get the letter from their attorney.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need more details now that he's presented us with this. I'd like to see the statute. Into how our article reads before.
I'll make a motion on the planning board that the electric grid process, none of that goes through or passes, that we recommend that the council not pass that this evening until further review can be done on the legal side.
That's Article 7, correct?
That's not on the docket, though. The only thing on the docket is
The 50 cent.
Yeah.
We could do something with that. You're only here for a public hearing tonight. So I don't know that you're supposed to be taking any action because you've already presented it to the council. But there was a question about agreeing with Lou or not agreeing. So you could weigh in on that about moving ahead with what's on the table now to eliminate the 50 cents or not. So are the rest of, is the council in favor of moving ahead with that or not in favor, stopping it right where it is and not taking action on the 50 cent removal?
I'm okay with them moving forward with that. I mean, that when we did the calculation, it was extremely,
Absorbent.
yes.
So what about you, Shannon?
No pressure.
We can go ahead.
Go ahead with removing the 50 cent piece and you're okay with that, Walter? And Lou is not okay. So there you have that.
And I have a quick question. So when would the first opportunity for the annual inspection take place?
After they've completed the project completely.
A
So we
year
have
later.
quite a bit of runway as it is.
Yeah.
So this
They haven't
is,
started or anything. They haven't got a permit to begin.
okay, that's kind of where I was going with this, that we should have runway for the legal minds to kind of sort this out for us a little bit more. And so assuming the planning board is, and sounds like they are okay with moving for the correction for tonight on number 7.
Correct, because if we didn't revisit this, we wouldn't have to revisit it if it wasn't an issue. We can revisit it if it's an issue, but this 50 cent per square foot is absorbent. And now that we're revisiting it, we can revise this and still visit this again later.
Mhm.
Okay, so everyone's clear on that.
Right, we're not looking to approve this whole article, we're just making the amendment of the 50 cents tonight.
Correct.
Correct.
And we can revisit the other part later.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that said, that's something that we'll vote on that later. We are moving on to the condemnation order for the town parking lot. Oh, yes, and you are set to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
So you and I haven't chatted about this, so we're going to have a live discussion in front of everybody.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So basically, I think what we need to do is to read the condemnation order as a part of the public hearing.
Okay.
So and for everybody listening, it's going to be long and drawn out, the legalese and all of that. Would you like to read all of that, or do you want me to do it? Doesn't matter to me if you want to do it or me.
How long are we talking? Are you like 6 pages deep or what?
3.
Oh, wait, did you give it to us? Is that one of the
It's
papers?
probably on here.
Oh, it's on that. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like a physical
So
copy if
for
you have it.
later tonight, that's what.
Okay,
That's a specific motion from the board.
okay.
Here's my copy.
Okay, well, I can
You
just,
got it?
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know if you'd printed
So
it out,
should
first,
be
but I guess,
Condemnation and Schedule A and Schedule B, the whole.
Yeah.
okay.
what page is it? Do you have it up on yours? No.
I'm working on it.
Okay, it must be the next.
And I think the reason why that's important is so that way, because
Yeah.
we want to make sure we cross every T and dot every I
Yeah.
with the legalness of this thing that we're doing.
Okay, so do you want to preface it with anything so that people know, understand what we're speaking of?
Oh, sure. Okay, well, you can give them a little
Yes,
context.
just give them a little
Okay.
context, please.
So
So what we're on the verge of doing here is taking a piece of property by eminent domain on the town's behalf. The parking lot that is a part of 22 Pleasant Street, the medical building, former medical building that the town owns. There's a little piece of the parking lot that's adjacent to that building that is not currently owned by the town. In many months of interesting learning, we have found that the town does legitimately own all of the other remaining spaces in there, except for those spaces that are by the Village Pizzeria, that long row. And so this action that the council is taking tonight is taking that little piece, that little squarish piece of property that we don't own, and take it by eminent domain. We have posted it, of which you'll hear. So there's some legalese that we need to go through to make sure we do this properly.
So I am going to read the order of condemnation. Town of Mechanic Falls, 23 MRS 3021, 30-AMRS 3101. Know all persons by these present. The notice of intent to condemn real property interest to adopt this condemnation order has been seasonably and publicly posted by the Town of Mechanic Falls, a Maine municipal corporation with the principal place of business at 108 Lewiston Street, Mechanic Falls, Maine 04256, as described herein. Notice by posting at least 7 days prior to this order. The town office website, and in the vicinity of the property described. The notice by publication was at the Sun Journal, 104 Park Street, Lewiston, Maine. It appeared in the Sun Journal on April 20th, the 24th, the 26th, and the 29th. Publication tear sheets available upon request. Pursuant to and consistent with 1 MRS 816, 23 MRS 3021, and 30 AMRS 3101, the Mechanic Falls Town Council, in their capacity as the municipal officers of the Town of Mechanic Falls, Maine, gave seasonable notice of their intent to condemn and take by the process of eminent domain the fee interest in the right, title, and interest to the certain real property described and depicted in Schedule A hereto. The posting was completed on April 19th, 2022. The publications were completed on April 29th, 2022. A public hearing was conducted on May 2nd, 2022.
It's
happening.
April 2020, April 29th, not 2022.
No, we're doing the public hearing is tonight.
Yes.
The public hearing is now.
Oh,
We're
okay.
reading this so that they are aware of it and making it known.
Okay.
By the Mechanic Falls Town Council, sitting at 108 Lewiston Street, Mechanic Falls, Maine. Thereafter, the Mechanic Falls Town Council will vote to approve this condemnation and take by eminent domain of the property rights described and depicted in Schedule A hereto, to pay damages determined by the Mechanic Falls Town Council to be just compensation in consideration of the advice of the assessor of Town of Mechanic Falls, using the typical valuation methodology and valuation standards of the Town of Mechanic Falls. At the public hearing, Mechanic Falls Town Council will adopt legislative findings as described in Schedule B hereto. All of these forms are here tonight available, correct?
I'm sorry.
All of these forms that I'm speaking of are here. If people
Yes.
want, okay.
Yeah.
So far, Schedule A and Schedule B.
Yeah, so you, Schedule A and B are immediately after
Okay.
those.
Consistent with the town's eminent domain authority provided by 23 MRS 3021 and 30 AMRS 3101 regarding the public exigency, the inability to purchase the property rights at a fair market value, and the need to clear the title for this property, which has been held and occupied by the town as the joint and several basis for condemnation. Therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Mechanic Falls, sitting as the municipal officers, hereby resolve, order, and appropriate this condemnation order to take by eminent domain the real property interest described and depicted in Exhibit A from the property owners named herein by unanimous vote on May 2nd, 2022.
And for context, this is the actual, when they vote later this evening, this is the actual document that they're going to vote to sign. And so this is the actual taking order to take the property. Schedules A and B
Is this
are,
something you want to, can you put them up on the screen or no? Can you share the screen or is that?
uh,
Okay, sorry. They're available. They'll available and they will be available. Sorry. Just an idea.
Come into the
But-
town tomorrow.
But do you have the map that we were looking at, seeing what that square was like that? Do you have
yes.
something? If someone asks, just so it's
Yes,
available.
if someone asks,
'Cause
right.
it's like literally a small piece in the middle of everything that we just realized we didn't own when we
Yeah.
were reviewing the property.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yes,
Yes, well,
that's
yeah,
fine.
see, this is why I knew we would need it.
See me later.
Do you want me to continue to read?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you can probably, instead of reading all the fences and all of
Okay,
that,
Just
you
read
can
the,
just say this particular area. If anybody wants that, to know
Okay,
that, they can.
so a certain lot or parcel of land located northernly of Route 121, AKA Pleasant Street, within the town of Mechanic Falls of Androscoggin County, shown as the parcel formerly of J.A. Bucknam and now occupied by the town of Mechanic Falls. Let's see. The northerly most corner of the land now or formerly of the town of Mechanic Falls, as described in a deed recorded in the book 9812, page 217 of the Androscoggin Registry of Deeds. Let's see. It is the distance of 33.69 feet. It is
That one right there.
Okay.
It's gonna tell them what it
Okay,
actually is.
meaning and intending to describe 0.15 acres of land formerly of J.A. Bucknam and now occupied by the town of Mechanic Falls as shown on Exhibit 1, which will be shown. All directions are referenced to the main coordinate system. All distances are grid distances with a scale factor of 0.099. The persons and entities from whom the town of Mechanic Falls hereby condemns and takes the real property interest described and depicted herein by the process of eminent domain are unknown. The Mechanic Falls Town Council has caused a title search to be conducted, beginning with the conveyance of J.A. Bucknam, as described in a deed recorded with the Androscoggin County Register of Deeds and noted on the Exhibit 1. The title search indicated that the last known conveyance of the real property described and depicted herein was to Mary Curtis by deed dated June 8th, 1889. Recorded in the Androscoggin County Registry of Deeds. There is no record that Mary Curtis conveyed any of said real property interests within her lifetime. Title may still be vested in the unknown heirs of Mary Curtis or their heirs, successors, or assigned subject to any claims by the town of Mechanic Falls by virtue of its longtime use and occupancy of the property. The following reasonable valuation amounts shall be paid to each person and entity for which property rights and interests have been herein condemned by the town of Mechanic Falls. $8,640. That is the fair market value currently that we will reserve in case there are heirs who come forward. Schedule B consists of the legal findings. The overview of legislative findings. The property is not going to be used for agriculture, fishing, or forestry, or improved with residential homes, commercial or industrial buildings. No one resides in a dwelling house located on the property, nor any business or residence is located on the property. All properties immediately abutting the property are owned by the town of Mechanic Falls. The property has been occupied by the town of Mechanic Falls for at least 20 years as a municipal parking lot. The town council has determined that there is no further public need for the property and surrounding land and wishes to sell the property to allow its development for other beneficial uses and to generally promote economic development in town. While the town has claimed ownership of and occupied the property for at least 20 years, the fact that it is not described in the deed to the town presents a cloud on the town's title to the surrounding lot and practical impediment to the sale and future development of the site. The need to clear title on municipally owned property has been deemed by Maine courts to be lawful public purpose for the exercise of eminent domain authority. The size and location of the property, among other property owned by the town, make it impractical to sever it from any use or conveyance to be made by the town. The town council, despite best efforts, has been unable to identify or locate the record of owner of the property or any heirs, successors, or assigns who may claim an interest to said property, and has therefore been unable to purchase the property at reasonable valuation as determined by the town council. The potential claim to title and unknown identity of the record owner or their heirs, successors, or assigns of the interest of J.A. Bucknam as described in Schedule A, clouds the town of Mechanic Falls title to the property and prevents its reasonable disposition. For the reasons set forth here and above, there exists public purpose and exigency sufficient to support this condemnation by eminent domain. The town council hereby takes official notice of the public documents referenced herein and all other related documents available in the town of Mechanic Falls records and website.
Very good.
That was a lot. Good job.
Do we have any comments or questions?
Housekeeping. Didn't y'all buy the property from somebody? Why wasn't there like all this title searching done to begin with?
Go ahead.
So it's actually a very interesting, very long story, and I won't bore you with all the details.
Mhm.
Suffice it to say that what you know now is that parking lot came together around the years in the mid 1990s to just after the turn of the millennium. And when Dana Lee was town manager, and the Mechanic Falls Development Commission decided to put together that parking, what you know as that parking lot with all sorts of different parcels of land. And through the ages, no one really discovered, I guess, that when the medical building was purchased, that there was some land issue that was resolved a few years ago at that time. And certainly no one saw or there was no reason to see that this little tiny square in our color-coded map, which is white, was just not town-owned. And so like I said, we're taking the steps to rectify that, to make, regardless of what happens to the parking lot or anything else in the future, at least it solidifies the fact that the town of Mechanic Falls will indeed own the entirety of the parking lot.
So this is like housekeeping. We've looked through everything, this land we had with this property that we had, and we're just doing all our due diligence.
I think another thing to note is none of us were here. We've inherited something. We're just trying to make sure it gets done properly from here on out. Like, we can't go back in the past and change anything, so we're just making it right now.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay, with that, we can close the public hearing on the condemnation order at 6:43. 5.3, Dad's Place liquor license. I'm seeing that we can waive this. Is this because they've
Because it's been
5 years?
Yeah, it's
and they
been
have no
longer than
problem?
5 years. Do you want to speak to this, Janice?
Chief Goss has given it his blessing.
Okay.
Say again?
I said Chief Goss has given it his blessing, and yes, the reason to waive it is that it's been 5 years or more.
Do we need to make a motion? Or
I
is
think we'll do it
just
later. This is just the public
Right.
hearing part. So if
Yeah,
anyone has any
you'll
comments,
make the motion later.
Right.
Yeah.
if
yeah.
anyone
meant
has
to
any
waive.
comments or questions though.
Isn't there particular language from the state that we have to say in order to do it under? Like we have with the other ones?
There's the application that Janice has that you guys once voted on will sign. I guess I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, we're having a public hearing. We're just saying we don't really need to. So we're
Yeah,
essentially, we can,
yeah. So technically where it's been 5 years, you can just
We can
waive the
waive
public
it.
hearing
or we
or
can,
just hold it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
if anyone has any comments or questions, they don't, we'll just move on.
Okay.
So with that, we'll close the public hearing for Dad's Place liquor license, and we'll move to 5.4, the Silver Spur Bottle Club application.
Chief Goss has also given this one his blessing. I guess I didn't know that it wasn't open 5 years in a row on that one.
Yeah.
But if anyone would like to take a look at it, I'm going to pass it around later as well.
Okay.
But he has signed off on that one as well.
Okay. Comments, questions from the public? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 6:45. We will move on to general comments from the public. Anyone has anything? 3 minutes, please state your name and address when you come up. Come on up.
Hi, Mary Beth Taylor.
Just make sure that it's green, the light is green, so it's on. Thank you.
Mary Beth Taylor, on the select board from Poland. I see that you will be signing for the school warrants. And just as an informative thing, if people vote not to have the public voting, but just the meeting voting, there is no set number of how many people would need to be at, quote, a town meeting for the school. And when asked who would make that decision, it was the school board would make that decision, which means you could make it 4 people or 200 people. And so I just want people to be aware of that. If they choose not to have the public, then it would go back to the board. They would decide how many people could be at that meeting to make that decision. Most town meetings have to have a certain number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If we have no further comments or questions from the public, we'll close that. We'll move to the council discussion topics.
I have a question. It appears that we are going to be entering some quite tumultuous economic times. And I know the town has some different plots of land around town. What would it take for us to be able to establish a community garden for those that don't have the ability or the land to be able to sustain themselves food-wise in our community?
I don't have much of an answer for you. Not today.
I just a comment, the cooperative extension had a master gardener program. I don't know if it's still going, but they had gardens. And every week they would donate food, and people who were interested in receiving would come on a certain night.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that. At one point, I was on the executive board for Androscoggin Cooperative Extension. COVID has done a number in some areas, and that's one of them, unfortunately. And the other thing is that with the retraction of the economy the way it is, the food banks have been hurting, and they're hurting more. And my opinion is that there is probably going to come a point that we may need to be able to have available if somebody in town is living in an apartment and would like a garden to be able to sustain their family. We should really figure out how to do that and consider that in order to be able to provide for their self needs.
So you're talking about individual people growing vegetables on their own land or town land?
Town land. Wyndham's a perfect example. Portland does it on Munjoy Hill. I can give you a various list of towns that do it. They have town land that they've set aside, and they have a list. People can sign up to get a certain size little plot, and they go there, they garden, and they take, they do their own vegetables on that town land.
I'm thinking that if this is something that I think that someone would have to would bring us a plan, and then we would have the authority to approve it. I don't know as though it's unless you are that's something that you're willing to undertake. I think that's something that could be brought to us to vote on. Like if there's land, if there is land.
So part of this conversation can actually dovetail with some information I'm going to impart to you here in just a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, again, if the council decides that it would like to take town-owned property and create these opportunities, then it's certainly within the council's purview. I'm sorry, I just sitting here tonight, I don't have any, I don't have any game plan. I have no idea. I have no nothing.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's something that there would have to be a plan brought to us. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know. I don't have.
Well, before I go to all of the energy, because my pot is full as it is, I wanted to know if it was something we could even consider, and two, if there was an already known piece of land somewhere that could be targeted for this, to know to be able to do the proper research into it.
Well, Rose just suggested we talk to Scott about that, or you might talk to Scott.
Yeah, and it seems to me, unless it were shovel ready right now, it's certainly not going to make this planting season, right?
When farmers who have tillers and manure and stuff, it can be done quite quickly.
There's a whole lot more to doing.
Rose, I
Okay.
understand that. Wyndham did theirs in 6 weeks. I'm just telling you,
There's managing, who gets what that's planted.
Oh, no, you would get your own plot.
They do their own
own
Yeah.
plot.
Would they be also doing cleanup as well?
Yeah.
Mm.
I've talked to the overseer of Wyndham, as well as Catholic Charities that does Munjoy, one of them down in the Munjoy Hill area. And I will be able, if somebody wants it and is interested, I can present that information. I just feel as a town, we need to be open-minded and considering how we are going to be able to be self-sustaining for our residents. When you have the president on TV saying it's going to be bad, we need, as a town, we need to be proactive and try to figure ways outside of the box the best we can to help our citizens be able to meet their needs.
I certainly don't mind helping out the citizens. I guess I'd like to know if there are people that are coming forward, if the town would put on their website. Are there people interested in doing it? And, I don't think we should have an idea as to what the need is out there before we start looking for land.
Well, right. I think it's a great idea. It would be a great opportunity. I think I don't necessarily think it could happen this season because there's so many logistics but if you're asking for the council, if that's something that we would approve, if there was town land, I guess is that your question? Is it right
That
now?
and are you guys okay with me going and doing the legwork because I have had a couple of residents question. I've had residents show up at my farm wanting to know if I might be willing to give them a small corner to garden. And if I've had 5, that makes me feel, well, if 5 have come to me, how many more in this town are thinking the same thing and looking, but they're not sure where to go. But because of varying connections, these individuals have shown up on my doorstep.
Sure.
I'm on this thing on the Green Party called the Poor and Working People's Caucus. And we do have a program for that. If you want some help getting it off the ground, planning, whatever, I will help you. So, because it is an excellent idea.
You could certainly bring it to the council. We're not saying no, we just don't have enough information right now,
No.
but that's,
Well, I just want to make sure you guys are okay with me gathering information on behalf of the council.
well, I mean, I guess, I don't know, like, if it's on behalf of us, I think you would have to bring it to us and we'd have to approve it. Wouldn't that be how it is?
Right.
I mean, I suppose if we all decided to do it together, we could make that, but it would still have to be something that was public. We did the planning in a public meeting, right?
Yeah, I think you have two choices. One is kind of like a straw poll. I think if I'm reading Paula correctly, that's kind of maybe where she's leaning. Because again, as counselors, you really shouldn't go off just doing something willy-nilly.
Right.
So she's asking, in a straw poll or an official capacity to take the lead on something to present to you guys. I think in a straw poll fashion, you don't even need to add anything to the agenda, just as long as nobody has any difficulty with it, and you're okay.
Well, I mean, I suppose it could always be something that she brings up in council topics, that it's in
Yeah.
public and she tells us, and then we decide to add it to do something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I can put it on the June agenda, if you want to have you give everybody an update.
We can do that, but I want to make sure it's okay with everybody here that they know that I'm out there doing this research, because I don't want to waste my time doing all this research if it's something that there are counselors are reluctant to go there, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Well, I appreciate your time, so I get where that comes from. But even if it didn't happen this year, there's always next year. It still could be something that, so I mean, I guess I'm seeing the nod of heads, like, we don't want to waste your time, but it is a great opportunity, so.
Okay.
Do we answer your question then?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. And Angie, you and I are going to be. Thank you very much. And the other thing I wanted to say was we need to thank Mary Martin for all of her years giving to this community. She gives and she gives and she gives. She's kind of like the Energizer buddy when it comes to education. And I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Okay. I think there's no other.
Hey, well, before I open up this packet, so it says number one, Janice has passed probation, but that doesn't even begin. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. What this lady has been doing for the town of Mechanic Falls really deserves all of our love and appreciation. She's really been diving in. And at this time of year, she not only is doing all of her normal duties and filing reports to the state, she's also putting together a town report. She's also getting all the election stuff ready for June 14th. And because of staffing issues, she's pretty much, if it wasn't for her and Lisa, we'd be toast. And so I just wanted to take a moment and express some appreciation for Janice and all that she's doing. To the item number 2, code enforcement, and to that, again, you all have expressed your gratitude to Alan and all of what he's done for the community. I think that is 100% rock solid, and certainly from where I sit, we wish him well into the future. And I have hired a gentleman by the name of Ryan Smith out of Auburn, who will be our new code enforcement officer. Ryan will officially begin his duties on Monday, May 16th. Ryan will be coming in this Wednesday and a day next week to work with Alan to begin a transition. And in addition to that, I today have placed a conditional offer to Corrine Robert for the deputy town clerk position. And she is due to begin her duties next Monday, May 9th. And so we'll be in the training mode.
Do we need to bubble wrap this one?
Do we need to what?
Bubble wrap this one?
Bubble wrap this. Yeah, so and actually, you know, the thing is, I'll take my thing out of order here. So one of the things tax foreclosure update. So for the deputy town clerk that was here for a short time, she did a very amazing job, especially when it came to the world of taxes. So I came to you guys a month or two ago saying that we had, I think, 14 at the time, and then it went down to 9 of folks who were outstanding and about to lose their properties due to foreclosure. And so Joan got, with the help of Lisa, Joan got on the phone, and where there weren't phone numbers, she kept digging until she got phone numbers. At the end of the day, everybody came in to pay before April 14th. And so the town of Mechanic Falls has no foreclosed property to receive this year.
That is wonderful.
Awesome.
So thank you, Joan,
Yes.
Thank you, Joan.
and we wish you well. Okay, LED Streetlight Project. Now I will go ahead and open up my packet here. So I've been bouncing back and forth between Real Term Energy, Central Maine Power on different thises and that's concerning the LED Streetlight Project. So we have sent our payment off to CMP for ownership of the lights. They are in the process of finalizing things on their end. And in a query that I had sent to my contact at CMP, he replied, Vic, as soon as possible after the check is passed, and I assume that means clears the bank, we will do an initial billing change to the energy only rate from the date LEDs are installed, are complete, and your contractor submits the changes. We will change the billing rates again to energy only LED rates. We'll credit you up to 60 days from the date of submission to the first install date, whichever comes first. So what this means is they have our check, they're processing it in the land of CMP. But it's not, this tells me we're not getting the rate reduction yet.
Yeah.
We should be hopefully very soon.
But they'll
And-
credit back 60 days?
Yeah, well, so that, you know, I'm on it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But based on this, I'm not sure,
You'll follow up.
you know, yeah, based on how this is going, the project will be probably done by the time, you know, CMP gets around to it. Because they should have kicked me back the countersigned contract. They have a contract from me. They have the check from us. Everything we're supposed to do on our end is done.
Okay.
It just needs to be completed on their end.
Okay.
In terms of real term, in terms of the actual install dates that they're projecting for the streetlights, I'm showing now it looks like installation will take place somewhere between July 5th and July 11th.
Wow.
So here we are, May 2nd. So again, you see what I'm saying with CMP?
Yeah.
You know, don't be shocked if the thing's completed by the time they switch everything. But I do push.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, so that completes those. All right, this next one. Unfortunately, nobody came forward to pull nominating papers in time and return them in time for a seat on the council. So we need to face this head on. And I've been doing some research, and I believe I supplied you guys with the extra sheets tonight of some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. So you should have a little packet that looks like this, verbiage. So this afternoon, I went on to, because you can Google anything, and I went on and I found the Maine state law that I believe speaks to our situation. And if you go down to the 2/3 of the page where I've got it kind of toggled, it says in a municipality that has not voted under paragraph A, blah, 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 votes cast for write-in candidates must be counted if the printed ballot does not include a properly nominated candidate for the office. So there's no candidate nominated for the office. Forgive me. So I believe our next best opportunity will be write-in candidates on June 14th. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. So if there are no write-in candidates, then what happens? So we flip a couple of pages. Now I refer to your charter. Article 2, Section B. Cindy, I don't know how you feel about this. Each counselor's term shall be for a term of 3 years and until his, I guess we should say her, successor is elected and qualified. So I'm just the person providing the information. You all are going to go and deal with this hot potato. Okay. So there's that. And then flip the page. Something that you've experienced recently and how Cindy has come to join us. Filling of vacancies. So it talks about that the council shall have the opportunity to fill the vacancies between regular municipal elections. And so those are the next 2 best opportunities to have a full staff of 5 on the council. Write-in candidates. And if we get none, then it's really going to be up to the council how you wish to proceed. And, you know, it's where we're not meeting in July. It probably will be August before we really get to deal with this if there are no write-in candidates.
So how long can we hold Cindy hostage?
So I'm going to let the conversations over here just happen.
Well, it says right here she can resign, so
Okay, so I guess I didn't understand that one.
it
though.
says in case of vacancy caused by death, resignation, or other cause. So she can resign.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, you know,
So
I
she
mean,
was. but she
Sorry,
was voted
I'm
in-
letting you off the hook, Cindy. I'm just saying, I'm not saying I want you to, I'm just saying you
Right, so
can.
you were voted in to finish a term.
Right.
And then, so
Which
she
is
was supposed,
finishing this year.
right. So it says each council's term shall be for 3 years, but if you came in on something else.
Right.
it's
She's
The
just
end of your
finishing
term
the-
and until his or her successor is elected and qualified.
I
So
bet
you're
I'm-
trying to get her in under that one.
Yeah.
He was trying to hold her hostage.
me? Would I try to do that?
We're trying to hold her hostage and Daryl's giving her the key to the
Well,
gate.
I'm
to
just
get out.
saying, like, I believe in fairness.
So
I
ju-
appreciate what she's given us.
So you're also saying though, if any one person their name was on the ballot twice, 2 people put them on there. That would be sufficient
yeah, based on.
based on this.
Right,
the
because
information that
we
you
have
gathered.
no nominated candidate.
And what happens if we have 2 or 3 people written in?
Then
Does
it
it
would
go
be the
to
one
the
who had
one
the
Whoever
with
most.
gets the most
The one who
votes,
has the
right?
most votes.
And
Okay.
if they all have 2, then I guess.
And if
they
it's
come
a
in.
tie, then I think you call everybody together and do the good old fashioned coin flip.
Put
But that's not for me to decide. That's for you
What
to
about putting the
decide.
names in a hat and drawing one out?
Yeah.
That's up to the candidate whether they want to do it.
Right. That's
Right.
only if they accept it.
Right, once they accept it. Okay,
So I just
we
wanted
say
to-
Thank you for giving us our options.
Yeah, just
This is good to
update
know.
you on that.
Yes.
Oh, town-owned land. So I think in your packet, you should have I don't know if I can't remember. It's been a long day. So do you have something? Barefoot Realty reached out to me, and I'll read. I am a local realtor with Barefoot Realty in Oxford. I'm reaching out as I have a qualified buyer whom has shown interest in your lot located in blah, blah, blah map, blah, blah. 74.39 acres. If you'd consider selling, please reach out to myself or have your realtor contact me. And it got me thinking. This is just my opinion. My opinion doesn't carry the day. Your opinions carry the day. But from where I sit, I would prefer the town of Mechanic Falls not to be in the real estate business at all, except to collect money from taxes. As it turns out, I said, we got this, 74 acres? Wow. What else do we have? I got 2 pages here of little pieces of property around and about town that apparently the town owns.
Now, if I may address that 74 acres, that has been purposely maintained by prior councils. If it's the one up off of Jordan Road.
Yeah, on Lane, yes.
Yes. For the fact that that land is vital for connecting the ATV and snowmobile trails as well as other things. So that's why the town maintained it once it became.
So from where I sit, I say all well and good. And if the council and the town wishes that to continue to be true, that's fine. My job is to help you maximize opportunities. And so basically you have a bunch of properties that aren't bringing the town any money through taxation.
74
That
acres?
could. Yeah. So for tonight, it's just informational. Because quite frankly, we have a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was my just kind of opening thing for you all to be thinking about. Do you want me to eventually play with this? Or are you going to just say, Vic, hands off? Because I mean, you lead, I follow.
I'd like to know what else is out there.
Yeah, I would like to know what we have for properties. Because
So I'll hand this to you. It's the only copy I have, but I'll hand this to you. And my apologies for not making copies of it.
Oh, and the other thing with that 74 acres was we had a woman in town. She was part of the Androscoggin County Extension Office. And they were in the process prior to everything exploding in town of looking into putting a dog park up there. And then all hell broke loose.
Remember,
So-
you can find all that on O'Donnell's. You can just type in town of Mechanic Falls and you can see all the parcels. I think was there 24, 34?
There's a bunch of them there.
Do remember that some of that does lie on the aquifer, which is the water department.
Watershed.
It takes ownership of that. It doesn't belong to them per se, but
we preserved it for them.
yeah.
Is
So
there like
much,
any color coding for that? We can see like an overlay of what's,
Well, you're not gonna get a map there. You're just getting the,
well, yeah, I know. I want
we need a map.
color coded.
No,
You
we
can
need
see
a
the
map.
parcel and you can see the aquifer overlay online. You can see it online or you can see it in my office.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, just food for thought.
Yeah.
Kind of like Paula's thing, if you don't want me to play with it, I won't. If you do, I will down the road, not today.
Okay.
And the only thing that would be pressing at all would be if you wanted me to chase the rabbit of the Barefoot Realty thing. Or I'm not sensing immediate, Vic, chase it.
Well, I would want more information before
Yeah.
I need more.
And so I just wanted to inform you that there's possible action there for you to take.
I'd like to see a map and where those parcels are located on a map.
Okay, all right.
So,
Yeah, it'll be a couple of months though, okay?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
fine.
We understand that.
Yeah, gotta clean up some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and some of
Okay,
it's obscure little pieces up by where we live. There's this little triangle. The town owns it. And it goes between Lane Road and Patterson Road and Standpipe and Libby. It's just this little.
Right, you're not gonna
obscure-
put any
Yeah.
house or anything on that.
No.
Thank you, though.
Yeah,
Well, there's no butter.
No,
Got
it
roads.
sits literally in the middle of the
It's
road.
like a.
It's an
yeah,
island.
It's
Big
an island.
island.
It's a bigger island.
There is no butter.
Well, there must be some butter.
The town.
The
Yeah,
town.
the
The
town.
town, they own
road.
the roads.
all right, that's my report. Back to you.
Okay. Yes.
What kind of credentials does this new code enforcement officer have?
None.
Some of the building trade before?
Well, so when I say none, he has no code enforcement experience. However, he comes from the manufactured housing side of the world, and he's used to dealing with code enforcement officers and some code stuff. And so he has a genuine passion to want to be a code enforcement officer. And so of the candidates that I interviewed, I really thought he would be the best fit for the community. Yep.
Okay, moving on. 9.1, old business, the new personnel policy, all remaining sections. So we will review these. Do you want to do it by? I know we're doing the end of it, so do you want to start us off? And if we have any
Yep.
kind of like we did last time?
Yeah, so we begin in section 6. So section 6 begins with employee leave time. And we have Paula's favorite topic for you guys to kind of think about, which is bereavement leave. Again, the current standard thing that you have is it's a flat 3 days. And there seemed to, as I was looking at different personnel policies, there seemed to be some sort of movement towards a tiered process. And that's why I brought it to you in this fashion. And for context for the public out there. What I am proposing for bereavement leave for full-time or permanent part-time employees in the event of a death of an employee's spouse, domestic partner, or child, 5 days paid days shall be allowed. In the death of an employee's parent, sister, brother, or grandparent, 3 days. In the event of the death of an employee's parent-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, 1 day shall be granted. And then it says additional paid time may be granted at the sole discretion of the town manager for unusual circumstances.
So again, this is paid time and this would be set. You would have discretion if there was going to be more, and they could always take unpaid time,
Yeah, exactly.
much like if anything happened. They could
Yeah, it's
take
just
unpaid time.
right now it's a flat 3 no matter what. And it just seemed, based on what I was seeing in my own thought process, this just seemed a little bit more proper for me, you know.
Question?
Yes.
On the last bullet, is that for parent-in-laws, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, aunts, uncles, nieces? Is that what other communities and cities
So
do?
it is kind of, so I'm going to paraphrase the best that I can, because when I looked at, in all truth, when I looked at this information, it was January, okay? And so what I saw was that there seemed to be a trend towards this tiered thing, and different ones had it tiered differently. Some still just had the flat and then manager's discretion type stuff. And so as I kind of laid this out, you know, a lot of times, you know, if you're going to go to a funeral and you're not close, then you just need the day, right? And so what relationships does that tend to follow? And then the step up, and then the ultimate step up. I mean, we could sit here and say, no way is 5 days enough for a spouse, right? But we're dealing with a policy. And so you gotta have it be something. And so based on what I was seeing and my own thoughts in the matter, this is what I'm presenting.
So we've gone up on the upper one and
And
we go
down.
down a little bit on the more
Right.
obscure ones.
Right, just to try
Right.
to, balance it, yeah, nicely, good point.
Well, I mean, we've really gone up more than we've gone down, really.
No.
Well,
It
yes, you have.
depends,
You've gone from 3 to 5 on the close ones.
right? But from
Right.
3 to 1 on a handful of them.
Right, but yeah,
I mean, it's up to you guys.
I'm guessing, for me, I guess the additional paid time may be granted at the sole discretion of the town manager. If I'm very, very close to my father-in-law or my mother-in-law and they pass, I'm gonna have a conversation with you and be like, this is just like my mother, and I'm gonna take the 5 days and I would like you to pay for them. Like, you gotta advocate for yourself. I mean, we can sit here all day long and say who gets what, but ultimately it's gonna be between the employee and this. If we're gonna have a policy, I mean, we could go round and round and round about.
Well, and my only thing is with the in-laws. Your in-laws are your in-laws. My in-laws, my mother and father-in-law are just like my father and my mother to
Well,
me.
right then, if you worked for the town of Mechanic Falls, you would advocate for yourself to commit them to be parents and in 5 days with pay.
But somebody's in grief and despair over that. They're not gonna be thinking
True,
straight.
but we're adults and this is a job and we have.
And
a
I'm just
policy.
talking about the parent-in-law. I'm not talking
Okay.
about the
Well,
brother.
And I'm not,
it's-
and I'm
and
not
again,
arguing
it's-
against or for anything.
and again, it's not that you're not necessarily gonna
Yeah.
get the time off, it's just paid leave.
Right, yeah, right. We're
right?
talking
Like,
about.
we're talking about paid leave, just so you know, if I take the time off and I'm self-employed, I don't get paid at all.
Well, I know that.
And I understand that, and I'm not saying that that's for or against, I'm just saying, we're not saying you can't have the time off, we're just talking about paid leave.
Right, right.
There is a difference.
I don't like the fact, take this wrong, Mr. Hodgkins, but you may go out here and get hit by a car after we impose this. And the next town manager may not interpret it the same way as you might have, or we
That's-
had intended.
That's very true.
And
Well,
that's my
right.
Well,
concern.
But I also
it's
like that
again,
the-
at the discretion of the town.
Right, so you may get someone who's
More liberal,
less-
more, or more
less,
conservative, who
less
knows?
sympathetic to this. I mean, again, do we leave it out? Do we not address it, or do we put this in place with this specific thing? And if it's comes
And
up,
it-
it can always come up.
And it's
again.
currently a flat 3 days for
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. And I think the categories might be fewer. Again, you'll have to give me a little leeway here because I didn't bring the current policy with me. All right, moving on. So page 23, then we have sections that talk about military leave, reserve military leave, jury witness duty, domestic violence leave, the famed FMLA.
Which
and-
these each, like FMLA has its own laws around it.
Right.
And we're
yeah.
just outlining them.
Yeah, a
as
lot of,
included in
right, a
ours.
lot of this is boilerplate
Yes.
stuff, but still you have to spell it out.
Right.
And eligibility, periods, required notice requirements, medical certification, intermittent or reduced leave. Again, very comprehensive benefits, health insurance coverage, what happens when you're out, who pays, blah, blah. And again, I can go through this.
Can we
in-
go back to page 23? The jury witness duty.
Page 23.
Yeah.
Bear with me, one more. Okay, jury witness duty.
You have here, the town fully recognizes the civic responsibility of serving on the jury or witness duty and understands that duty pay is well below the employee's average salary. In recognition of such, the town will pay the employee's wages not covered by duty pay. That's what you got vacation time for.
That's, I believe, 99%, I believe that's your current policy. This policy, the expansion on here includes witness duty. All the other personnel policies that I looked at not only talked about jury duty, but oddly enough, talked about witness duty. So that's why I took jury/witness. But I believe that you'll find, I wish I had it right here in front of me, that the current policy says essentially the same thing. All right, so I left off with FMLA on page 29. Employee reporting requirements, medical certification, fitness to return to work. By the way, as far as I am concerned, based on my experience with FMLA, if you're out on FMLA, it's just guaranteed 100%. You're going to get cleared by Concentra before you come back to work for the town of Mechanic Falls. So for me, that's like a mandatory thing. Restoration to position. Husband and wife both employed by the town. Family leave care, which is same but different. The Family Leave Care is Maine's Family Care Act, talks about that program. Involuntary medical leave, personal leave of absence, donation of benefit time. And that covers section 6. Section 7 is what I labeled as general, which takes into consideration professional conduct, performance, dress code, which used to be a lot simpler, political activities, conflicts of interest, bulletin boards, educational professional development, training programs, non-mandatory training, harassment, sexual harassment. And again, so like this category, we'll have a whole lot of defined stuff and procedures, individuals covered under the policy, procedures in response to harassment, mediation, complaints, confidentiality, resolving the complaint, protection against retaliation, Maine Human Rights Commission. And then we move on from there to hostile work environment, confidentiality, drug and alcohol use, no smoking policy, receipt of gifts, use of municipal vehicles, personal motor vehicle use, cell phones, computer and internet use policy, which I did not include on here because this and the social media policy are very lengthy documents. And so we, for like new hires, and for all staff, once all of this is approved, we're going to give those as addendum documents as a part of the personnel policy itself. Section 8, discipline and grievance procedures. Discipline, customary discipline procedure, grievance procedure, informal grievance, steps to take, the appeal process, and last, just some simple definitions concerning the document. And I'll entertain any and all questions if you have them. My goal would be, depending upon your response to all of this, I'd like to implement whatever the final document is, either this or some adjusted document by July 1st, if at all possible. If you all are essentially okay with the document as presented, you can vote it out tonight and sign off on it. If you want to mull it and vote on it in June, that's okay with me. From where I sit, I just want you guys to be very comfortable with this document, because at the end of the day, even though I put it together, your name is going to be on the document. What say ye?
Have you all had enough time with this document? Is there any other things you wish to change, add, subtract?
Well, with the bereavement, if we're not going to move the in-laws into the parent category, then I feel it should just stay the way it currently is in 3 days, no matter what it is.
Something we have to vote on, or is that something you just take into consideration? How is that?
I'm sorry, say again.
So with that, if that's a change, do we have to vote on that? How does
So-
that work?
So, yeah, so if you guys want changes to this, what I would recommend, just to make it official, is, let Paula make, in this case, Paula make a motion. If it gets a second, and have a discussion about it and vote on it, or, yeah, we're right here. So this is where you would do that sort of stuff. And if it passes, then whatever the verbiage is, I will take that down and replace my verbiage with your verbiage, and it will be a part of the document.
Okay.
If she or whomever brings something forward and it's not a majority vote, then it would, I guess, just stay as it is. Or as proposed, I would say.
I make a motion that we move parent-in-law from the 3-day paid to the 5-day, along with the parent, or from the 1 day to the 3-day, along with the parent allowance. In the bereavement leave section 6, page 22 of document presented for our acceptance.
Does anyone want to second that? Okay.
Okay, so that's failed. So my next thing is I make a motion that we do not change what the current policy is, and we leave it the way it is, and we do not do this tier process. And we leave it as the current policy has it of 3 days.
Do we have a second? Okay. So with that, if we don't have a second, do we move forward?
Yeah, if there's no second, unless others have changes that they would like to propose.
Does anyone else have any further comments? Cindy?
I haven't read it completely, the last part of it, for, a couple of weeks. But from what I remember, when I read it before, I think it was sufficient. I was fine with it.
Okay. Sarah?
For me, there are some things that I might personally not agree with, but I think overall it's very well done, the way it is. And I kind of feel like the areas where I would maybe personally want to change it, it kind of makes it up for other areas where I might, like, if I've given a little in this, then I'm also taking a little over here. So I feel like it's overall a very fair. I mean, we've talked about it in your office, and you know where I stand, but I just think it's a fair document. Again, you can change here or there, but I think if the way it stands, some places where it's not as fair, it's more than makes up in fairness in other areas. So I'd like to keep it the way it is.
Anything else, Paula? No. Okay.
So if you decide to vote this out tonight, the secondary question that would be a part of a motion would be, when does it take effect? It can take effect as of this evening. It can take effect as of July 1st. And the reason why I bring this part of it up is because on your agenda tonight is the Juneteenth issue. So
Which will be
if
next
you
month.
decide to make this effective July 1st, we still need to deal with the Juneteenth issue for this year, which is perfectly fine. Or you can just approve the document and implement it in full force as of this evening. Your choice.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept this as is with a date of implementation. Whether it be tonight or July 1st.
I make a motion that we accept this effective July 1st, is that what you said? Well, no, wait, but with the amendment that the Juneteenth.
So the Juneteenth will just be
right.
a separate issue coming up.
Right, but I'm
If-
saying in my motion, I'd like to accept the policy starting July 1st, but include that Juneteenth is a paid
Effective
holiday effective tonight.
this year. Okay,
Does that work?
that works for me. Covering two issues all at once.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? I guess I have one question. Why wouldn't we just make it effective tonight?
You could,
You can.
the only, technically, the only difference that it would make would be in tiering for vacation status.
I figured we're in this budget cycle.
Okay,
We go
I
to the
get-
next budget cycle
Point
for some
taken.
of these vacations.
Yeah.
and
That's
stuff
just what I.
That's
that was-
where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So I just figured we start over at the new year.
correct.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's my.
That's,
question. Just
that's what I
wanted-
was thinking
Yes.
through. I don't know if that's what.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a acceptance, I mean, a second, we have no discussion further. All those in favor,
Thank you
unanimous.
very much.
Okay, moving on. New business, plow truck chassis. bid.
Hold
Oh,
on. So
Is there more? Oh, you need us to
tonight,
sign it?
I'm going to need you to sign, that.
Okay,
Should have. If you approve a lot of stuff tonight, you're doing a lot of signing
okay, that's
tonight.
fine.
Let me get the right one. Personnel policy.
Oh, I need a pen.
You can have mine or hers.
And Tarsha, if you would be so kind, when you sign it, write July 1st,
Okay,
2022,
part,
because
okay.
I got a line that says effective
yep.
date. Okay. And the Juneteenth will just take care of itself. I know
Right.
what to do.
Right.
Okay.
I'll be working that.
I will do.
I'm not going to get that nice and neat, am I? Just
Vic, is
just
is
not
what
going to
you,
happen.
what you gave us on the
What's that?
updated or different? What,
We
Yeah,
got
but
the
what's-
extra sheet, but it was
what's
in
the-
the
what-
packet.
an email, you gave us an email, but it's looking.
Oh,
numbers
you
are a
have some
little
extra
different.
sheets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So things that didn't make the packet, you've been noticing the last 2 or 3 meetings, when you sit down to the table,
Yeah.
they're extra sheets. So anything that didn't make the packet in time, reports, ancillary information for things that I'm going to talk about, you'll be seeing moving forward, just as you have the last couple of meetings. Just so that way you can have the latest and greatest, even though it just barely beats the wire.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Paul.
on the bottom. That's what I was meaning. Like, is something different? Did I miss something? Okay. Okay, so you have what you need signed for now?
So
So
the next thing up is going to be the plow to Scott here.
yes.
Oh, there you are.
Come on up. Make sure the microphone is on. Please. Good evening.
Every 10 years, we traded our trucks. And our Wheeler comes up this year. We got 4 bids on trucks. The problem with trucks right now is they're hard to come by.
Right.
Some of these, 2 of these bids are next year, next summer, or next fall, or another year. We have 2 bids on a Western Star and a Mack that we can get this year. And they're all somewhat close. They're within $10,000 or $15,000 of each other. But the truck we would like to get is a Western Star. It's $104,559. That's just for the truck. That's not including the equipment. The equipment, we got 2 bids for equipment. One was $105,870, and the other one was $20,000 more. So we didn't even consider that one. And this is one's from Viking Savez in Lewiston, close by.
This is all brand new equipment.
Brand new equipment, yeah. The O'Connor Motor Company in Portland can get us either the Mack or the Western Star, hopefully by August or September. And we could have our equipment, hopefully we'll have the truck by January, February. If not, we're gonna wait a year or 2 more. Maybe more than that.
Yeah, no,
Trucks
it's
are-
not good right now.
Trucks are not good right now.
Okay, so is that the one that you want?
Yes.
You can get what you want
Yeah, this
soon
is-
enough.
Western Star is a very good truck.
Okay.
And he said he could have it by August or September. And then
Okay.
it has to go to the equipment dealer
All right.
for about 3 months
Okay.
to get all the stuff put on it.
And he'll take the trade?
He's
He'll
giving us
do
$42,000
42 for the
for
trade.
the Mac, which is a
Okay.
pretty good trade.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's included in the figures that you have. So it isn't take the figure and then deduct the 42.
Oh, okay.
That 104,559 is with that 42,000 on.
Okay.
They're quite pricey.
Okay.
You don't feel like this is just because this is one you can get, you like this truck.
No, Western Star is a very good truck. So, I mean, you're gonna have trouble with anything you
Wow,
get.
yes.
That's just. the
Well,
name of the
especially
game.
the nature in which it gets used, right?
Yep.
It's
And-
hard on them.
And with all the emissions now on them, it's hard. That's my recommendation. It's up to you folks. I mean,
And in terms of the math, so I had Lisa run the numbers. So based on what he has in his capital line, which we still need to back out the loader that you guys purchased, the balance therein, plus the capital that will be coming his way in July, assuming all good things, would leave us with a balance of 278,000 in change. So enough money, more than enough money to cover the purchase of the plow truck and the equipment purchase. So we're all set basically with the coin.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so is 10.1 the plow truck the first thing and then the equipment is the second? Is that, those are two
Yeah,
different
that's how they
lines?
do that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any other further questions for Scott?
No.
Okay.
Allow Scott to go with O'Connor and the Western Stroll for delivery in August.
Or a plow truck chassis.
For plow truck.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Cost have to be in the amendment? I mean, in the.
As proposed.
As proposed.
Okay. All those in favor?
And then the next item is the
Okay.
equipment
Okay, so the
package.
equipment package then.
Just I make a motion that we
Do you have a
allow
question?
Scott to get the equipment package that he needs as proposed.
I'll second that. I have a question.
Yep, discussion.
What is that, Scott? What's the equipment package?
that's your plow, all your headgear, your wing, all the stuff you need so you can plow snow with it and sand roads and all that
Say
stuff.
it must be sander, right?
Yeah,
Sander must be
sander, the chain in the bed,
Okay.
body on the back, all that stuff.
All right, I just wanted to be able to do.
The
a
first
good-
one's just a straight truck.
Yeah, the truck with nothing on it,
Yeah,
just the frame. That's all you get first, so.
okay. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on to 10.3, the RSU budget validation referendum. Do you want to speak? to
Busy
this?
night for you. So we're going to front run this just a little bit,
Okay.
especially based on the questions. So on May 17th is the meeting at the high school to vote out the articles of the budget. And so what this paperwork is basically as the council, you're authorizing the warrant to hold the referendum in June for the town of Mechanic Falls concerning the school budget with the 3 article questions that are enclosed. And because there's no specific coin listed in these articles, I think it's okay if we front run it, where you can vote to do it tonight. It's basically a formality by law. You have to do it because the town has to have the vote. And so by accepting this and voting it out tonight, you can sign it tonight and then be done with it for another year. The only other alternative is if you choose to wait until after the 17th, you can vote it out tonight and then come in after the 17th to sign it. I have absolutely no problem with you all signing it this evening if you choose to.
And this is just concerning the meeting.
This is,
This is the referendum.
yeah, for the school. Yeah. This is basically you, the council, saying, yes, we warrant that the RSU 16 referendum will take place
Will
in
take
Mechanic
place.
Falls.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So,
And
okay.
these are the 3 articles that have to be on.
Okay.
There's no,
Right.
we don't get to take input on what we want on it.
Right.
These are-
There's,
they
but
have
that's,
to
yeah,
be
that,
on these.
right. You said there's no coin involved. Okay.
Yeah.
So we could vote on this tonight and sign it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion, we sign it. Accept it and sign it, whatever you need to say.
I'll second that.
I'll let her write it the correct way.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. And now for the signing. We can make sure I get the right one here. This one here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that so much.
You tell Ken I did a good job.
You did a very good job reading that, by the way.
There was all that language.
Oh, I know, you did a great job. It's not easy. Stuff written 150 years ago.
I know, it's fine. Here, look at mine. There's nothing left on there. At the bottom. Let's just look at that. All right, moving on. 10.4, issue the condemnation order.
Make a motion to approve the condemnation order as read in order to be filed with the town clerk and to assess damages to be awarded in the amount indicated in the order should a person present to the town a valid claim to the rights having been extinguished by this condemnation order.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Excellent. Here you go. But wait, there's more. And Daryl, I'm going to want to
Yeah.
scoff that back.
Yeah.
So I'll wait till you guys sign
I'll
it.
bring it back. I'll bring
So
it.
that way you'll have.
You'll have the.
You'll
words.
have the actual, you won't have to go back and read or watch.
Listen again and
You
again.
don't have to listen over and over. What did he say?
That was written by our attorney.
Yes, it's very sophisticated.
It was, I felt like I was pretty smart. reading.
Yeah. Oh, you're smart, Daryl.
Yeah. I'm looking smart. I said that once to a pastor. He said, "Do you have to use the word wicked?" It's like seemed appropriate to me. It's wicked fun. Here, I'll do it. You've walked enough.
10.5, has that been?
So that's
has that
now
been
moved.
addressed?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. Moving along, ordinances, resolves, policies, and licenses. 11.1, the land use ordinance changes.
I make a,
We did already. It's a moot point because we already did it with. the
I
first-
make a motion that we accept all of the changes that were presented during public hearing to the land use ordinance changes tonight.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Do we have to sign 4 different pieces of paper?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Just wanted to
I
sure.
make a motion that we,
You have to have blue. Or you want blue?
We're doing all 4 of them at the same time.
Okay, you better give her a blue.
I got blue.
I make a motion that we issue for another year Dad's Place liquor license and Silver Spur Bottle Club applications.
Oh, wow, you just want to get everything signed.
I'll second that.
She's, send them over.
Have you signed that? Take a vote.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Your pen's not very good. You need this one. Doesn't write very good.
Oh. Yeah, this is actually to go with that.
Get to this one on the Silver Spur, there's 3 Siggy boxes instead of
Okay.
5. So I would recommend.
All right, I can go outside the lines. I'm good at that.
right underneath
Yeah.
this.
Even though I'm wicked smart.
So you're making sure you're getting them all back? I believe I've signed 4.
One has 2 pages.
Yeah.
2, not 2 to sign, just 2 pages. Sorry, I was trying to find out what the other page was.
Do you want, yeah, we can sign these in black.
You need that back.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, up top there, Silver Spur.
You guys make me spell things correctly. Make me look dumb. I don't look so wicked smart anymore. Motion to adjourn.
No, we got an executive session.
Yeah.
You guys are killing me.
Okay, you want to do the motion to get into
Yeah,
it?
well, like, yeah, let me
It's
read it.
12.1.
I make a motion, we go into executive session 12.1, 1 MRSA 4056C.
Economic
for
development.
Economic development.
I second the motion. All those in favor? Oh, we should note that we are going to, there's no voting or anything after this. So when we come out of executive session, we'll be adjourning immediately after. Good night.
Good night. You
So
can
you
stick
can leave.
around if you want to, just to hear us say goodbye.